The left-wing national media is refusing to cover a stunning abuse of power by the Obama administration. As we've reported, President Obama's National Security Agency intentionally and routinely spied on and violated the rights of thousands of Americans. Fox News Chief Washington correspondent James Rosen has our report.
House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi is a member of the Gang of Eight, the group of House and Senate leaders, plus chairs and ranking members of intelligence committees briefed on intelligence issues. Yet Pelosi confessed ignorance of this week's disclosure that the National Security Agency, for at least 5 years under the Obama administration, systematically violated Americans' Fourth Amendment rights.
I don't know what the particular, I have not been briefed on the particular case that they are referencing.
In declassified documents first obtained by the news outlet Circa, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court scolded NSA for an institutional lack of candor and added sternly, this is a very serious Fourth Amendment issue. House Oversight Committee Chair Jason Chaffetz told Fox News the documents appear to show the Obama administration routinely abused the NSA's internet surveillance tools. We must get answers and hold people accountable. Fellow Utah Republican Chris Stewart sits on the Intelligence Committee.
Do you think someone should go to prison for this?
Well, if they violated it and they did it knowingly and they avoided or ignored processes and procedures to protect that privacy, then absolutely they should be held accountable.
The FISA court said the new Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, and Director of National Intelligence, Dan Coats, enacted reforms that will, quote, largely resolve NSA's so-called compliance problems. Civil liberties groups said the disclosures should factor into lawmakers' decision at year's end about whether to reauthorize the NSA collection program that witnessed the abuses.
I don't think that this is a problem that is going to be resolved with just an investigation by the Department of Justice. What we have are authorities that were broadly drafted that allow surveillance that is concerning.
The agencies are pushing for reauthorization of this authority, but they can't even identify the scope of the impact on U.S. persons that these programs have.
The sheer scale of the Fourth Amendment violations disclosed is staggering, as was the sternness of the rebuke to the Obama administration delivered by the FISA court, which approves 99.9% of the government's requests for surveillance. As of a few minutes ago, however, the story had not been covered by the Washington Post or the New York Times, nor on any of the nightly news programs on the 3 broadcast networks. Trish?
Thank you very much, James Rosen. All right, joining me right now to discuss the Obama administration's ever-widening spy scandal is presidential historian Doug Wead. Good to have you here, Doug. Have you ever, in any administration, seen anything quite like this? I realize we're talking about the internet, but fundamentally, this is spying. Has any other president done anything like it?
We've never had anything quite like this. I'm sorry, Trish. I hate to bear that news, but it's not only scary, it's sad. The sad thing is that they expected Hillary Clinton to win the election, and we would never know this. We would never be told this. Hillary Clinton, when her husband won election, she appointed her best friend to head up the IRS, Margaret Milner Richardson, and they went after the Clintons' enemies. Just imagine what would have happened in America if Donald Trump had not won. Now, you'll hear people, Trish, I see them on TV arguing, and they'll say, I don't care. If the government reads my emails, if they listen to my phone calls, I have nothing to hide. That is a stupid statement. Do they think Thomas Jefferson had something to hide? That John Adams, that these men were part of some criminal class and they needed to draft this Bill of Rights and the Constitution in order to protect their nefarious deeds? The fact is, they, after hundreds of years through history, evolved these wonderful documents to protect us, because once the government zeroes in on someone and hears something and thinks something, they can get you.
But I'm going to stop you there, because I'm just wondering, how do we deal with this in this type of environment where these terrorists are connecting online? And they are on these social media sites. This is where they meet. This is where they connect. So how do we go about preventing that? Preventing them from connecting, if we also want to be protective of everybody's rights in this process, Doug?
We go after the terrorists, and Donald Trump has said that, but we don't go after James Rosen, who you just interviewed.
I know,
and he was
I was
targeted.
Just saying that. He sure was. He was part of this. I mean, so everyday Americans are getting wrapped up in this, and you think for nefarious purposes, for purposes that are political as opposed to, actual gathering of intelligence that matters to keep our country safe.
You know, hundreds of years ago, Cardinal Richelieu made this extraordinary statement. He was a great prosecutor. He said, "Give me 9 lines written by any man, and I can have him hung as a criminal." And if the government targets you and it collects all this data, it can find something and it can hurt you. So what we need to protect ourselves is from a government that uses its intelligence for political purposes. I agree. Let's go after the terrorists. Don't hold anything back. But let's not go after James Rosen because he happens to have a different political view than the person in power.
Well said. Doug Wead, thank you very much.
Thanks, Trish.
Coming up next, everyone, former President Obama today praising globalism in Germany while taking a veiled swipe, throwing a little shade there, at our current president, President Trump.
If there are disruptions in these countries, if there's conflict, if there's bad governance, if there's war, if there's poverty, in this new world that we live in, we can't isolate ourselves. We can't hide behind a wall.
Charlie Hurt and Katie Freitas, they're going to take up Obama's curiously timed trip abroad next.